Welcome, everyone, to Delicious and Nutritious. We are recording live from PAC TV. I want to thank PAC TV and Healthy Plymouth, as well as the Plymouth Center for Active Living, where we have a number of guests that are watching our show live. I'd like to introduce you to my associate chef, Chef Enzo Einhorne from Brooklyn, New York, one of the up-and-coming restaurant centers in the world. And Enzo has been cooking for a while. When did you start cooking, Enzo?
I've been cooking since I was in cooking a long time.
A long time. Actually, Enzo started cooking with me on Thanksgiving when he was 3. So I'm thrilled to have him cook with me. And I'm going to turn this over to Marcia Richards, who is going to talk to you for a moment, and then she's going to send you back to me. And then we are going to do pizza.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Excellent, excellent. So here we are live from the Center for Active Living. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The recipe that Jerry will be preparing with his associate Enzo is going to be available on healthyplymouth.org, as well as the recipes from the other shows that we've done. So I just wanted to mention some of the important aspects of cooking with kids. And I love to hear that Enzo's been cooking with you for 2 years already, Jerry. And what we know is that kids who learn to cook, that are involved with preparation, that are active in all phases of their meals, tend to eat better. They tend to enjoy a wide variety of foods. They tend to not be so picky. And more importantly, it's fun. It's fun for them, and it's also fun for the adults. Another benefit is it definitely sets the stage for developing fine motor skills, pouring, stirring, mashing, rolling, and kids love doing all these things. It might get kind of messy, but we can clean up. The memories that you will get from cooking with kids is priceless. So it's worth it if there is a little bit of a mess. Reading a recipe, math, science. So there are so many great reasons to involve kids in every aspect of cooking and cleaning up. So we won't ever persuade a kid not to clean up. So I'm going to send it back to you, Jerry. I'm looking forward to our pizza recipe.
Thank you, Marcia. We have a very simple, easy recipe that also tastes quite good. We purchased our dough from the supermarket. You want a 16-ounce or 1-pound piece of dough. One thing that I would suggest you do is that these doughs are refrigerated, and take them out an hour before you want to use them. If you do, they warm up to room temperature, and it's much easier to roll them out. Okay, let's talk pizza. And what we're doing right now is we're going to first start our oven, and this is a pizza stone. And I really like this because it gives you a really nice, even crust, and it also works beautifully on bread. So we're going to put this in the oven. We're going to fire the oven up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to let it sit for about 45 minutes. By that time, the stone is hot, and we're ready to go. So into the oven we go, Enzo. And it is now in the oven, and the oven's been turned on, and we're going to 500 degrees. Okay, what do we have here? Well, we have our dough. We have some olive oil. We have some flour. We have some cornmeal. We have tomatoes that I like to use fresh tomatoes. And we have green peppers. And Enzo, what's this?
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. That's exactly right. And there are some hot pepperonis. There are some sweet pepperoni. I suggest starting off with the sweet. This is shredded Parmesan Reggiano cheese, and I like to shred it because I get better distribution on top of it, and you guys are lucky because you're going to watch us do this. So let's move this out of the way, and first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle flour on our work surface. We've got our 16 ounces. You with me, Chef? Okay. And we're going to take this, and we're going to put it on here, and we're going to put a little flour on this, and we're going to put a little more flour on this, And
don't have a
now
chef hat.
we're spreading it
I don't
around.
have a chef hat.
I know. You're right, Enzo. I didn't bring a chef hat. But you know something? You're the only one around here that's got a chef hat. See how it's rolling out nice in a nice circle? And it's doing that because it's room temperature. Now, there's a number of things
And
you
there's
can
some
do.
flour over here.
You can take it and you can let it work like this, and you'll see that it spreads out. But I think for the average person, the best thing to do is get a rolling pin, but you need to flour the pin first. Okay, so now we're rolling. And then we're getting it nice into somewhat of a circle. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle because it's not necessary. Because this is what we call artisanal pizza. So, done with the roller. And Enzo, what do we have here?
Pizza peel.
Pizza peel. Excellent. What am I doing here, Enzo?
Putting cornmeal on the pizza peel so the
And
pizza
why-
won't stick.
That's right, because by putting the cornmeal on here, the dough isn't going to stick. So now that we got it on here, like this, we take it and we lay it on there like that. Bring it back to the center so we can work. Now, chef, we're going to start putting on some tomatoes. Remember,
Chefy.
okay, what's really important is we want a little edge, maybe like a ½ inch. The reason being is it looks better and it gives you that nice little crustiness. Notice how it's nice and round. Okay, chef, can we do tomatoes, please?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. Now, the reason why we're using small pieces, and there's a good question, why aren't you using a tomato sauce? Because I happen to think that fresh tomatoes have a lot more flavor to it. And you know what? From a health point of view, their tomato sauces tend to have sugars and some salt, and this has nothing but tomatoes. And the chef and I are doing a nice job. See, we're moving it out a little bit towards the center, from the center out to the edge. And chef, you're doing a great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Just push it around a little bit. You're doing great. You're better than I am. You know, I'm the sloppy one.
I've got tomato all over me.
You know what? That's a good thing. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do green pepper. And notice how we kind of going around in a little circle here. And what we want is a nice even distribution. And we're going to continue going around in a nice circle. And okay, now we're going to move it out just a little bit. Okay, chef, we're going to
Put some pepperoni on.
put some pepperoni on it. Okay, this, of course, was a round piece of pepperoni. Notice I cut it in quarters. Why? Because I could spread more out and spread it out, and you don't get pepperoni on one part and no pepperoni on another part. So the chef and I
Pepperoni sandwich.
That's a pepperoni sandwich. That's exactly right. I mean, why don't I think of clever things like a pepperoni sandwich? I mean, I should be able to come up with something like this. I'm not exactly stupid. But I'll tell you something, I really enjoy working with kids. And as Marcia said, that if you're working with a child, you're going to teach them some really good habits. And you know, you start off with some very basic things, and you teach them a little bit of knife skills, and you teach them some sanitation. And ultimately, as Marcia said, is that you're going to teach them a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is going to be wonderful because it's healthy. And so we're almost done here.
Yeah.
And we get this out of the way.
A little bit more pepperoni.
Go ahead. All right.
Drop.
Perfect. Looking good. Now,
And a little piece of pepperoni.
you can just toss it in there. Good. Now, we're going to sprinkle it around, and that's right. Notice how we're working pretty low. We're not frying up here because it'll go all over the place. So what we're doing
Oh
is,
my God.
no, you're doing fine, Enzo. Don't worry about it.
I'm so excited to eat this yummy pizza.
Well, good. I love it when a child says, "I'm so excited to eat something, and it's going to be yummy and it's going to be delicious." Okay, we're almost done. Now, notice one of the things is that we're using Parmesan Reggiano, so there tends to be a little bit of salt in this, and that's fine because we didn't add any salt to this. So we're just basically doing something that's pretty healthy. And Enzo, of course, gets all that out of there. Good. And what we're doing now, one thing that we want to do is we want to check our peel to make sure it's not sticking. So what we do is we're going to shake the peel. And look at this. See how the pizza is moving back and forth? That means it's not sticking to the peel. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to take and go to our 500-degree oven and our hot pizza stone, and we're going to put it in there.
And shove it in.
And we shove it in there, and then we take a look at our watch. Oh, through the modern television, the magic of television, it's all done. And look at that. Sometimes I even surprise myself. Okay, and there we have a lovely pizza that has pepperoni, and the cheeses are nice and melt. You got a lovely crust here, and
That's
the
the pizza we made
question you
earlier.
should be asking is, how long did I cook it? Well, what I like to do is at 500 degrees, I like to cook it for about 6 or 7 minutes, and then turn it 180 degrees around, because
Ooh,
generally,
that looks yummy.
doesn't it look yummy?
It does.
It looks yummy. So what we could do is we could do this, and then we could do this, and we could do that.
Or we
But
could do
what we're
everything.
going to do right now is we're going to go back to the Center for Active Living, and we're going to turn it over to Marcia for a few minutes. Please ask questions. If I can't answer the question,
Yes.
Enzo can. So
Yes.
please go ahead, and Marcia, you're on.
All right, well, first I'm going to challenge you, Jerry, for 1 second,
Please.
just because this is how we work best together. So where was the first pizza originated? Was it China or was it Italy?
You know, that's a really good question, because there's a debatable point in where the first noodle came from, or pasta. And people say it was Marco Polo, but there's
Yeah.
also evidence of probably 200 years prior to that, that there's a road that goes from China across to Eastern Europe and then into Europe. It's to give you a really good answer, I'm not sure. But the Italians I know will simply say, well, it happened in Naples, and there's nothing
Yes.
better than a
Yeah.
margarita pizza.
The margarita pizza, yeah, based on the
So-
colors of the flag.
Marcia, to answer your question, Enzo, would you like to add anything to this? No? Okay.
Okay.
I don't have a really good answer for you.
All right. I've been kind of trying to figure that one out myself. So this pizza recipe is an excellent source of vitamins A and C because of the ingredients. Also a decent source of B vitamins due to the crust. All of those things are great for our nervous system and our skin, our eyes, and our immune system. So I'm going to turn it over to our guests here at the Center for Active Living and see if they have questions. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Okay. How about if a person does not have a pizza peel, Jerry?
Okay. It's much more difficult to do without a pizza peel, but there is a way to deal with that. And what you do is you get a cookie sheet with a rim on it, and you spread out your dough on your cookie sheet with the rim. Okay, rim, side, okay. So, and you can do a square pizza, or you can just move it around so you get a round pizza. So it will work, but I prefer the stone. That's what I can tell you.
Do you still use the cornmeal?
You don't need the cornmeal. What I would suggest is that you spray it a little bit with a vegetable spray, just
Okay.
lightly, okay?
So it doesn't stick.
I've never done it with the cornmeal, but intuitively I would say I think it would work fine. But I do know that it will definitely work with a little bit of spray, and I'm not going to mention the name of the company.
Okay, yeah, we're not supposed to. Excellent. Yeah, Enzo's being invited to people's homes.
Oh, okay, fine.
Okay, it can be the traveling chef.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions about the recipe? Okay. All right.
Okay.
So if you used different vegetables, would the cooking time change as a result?
That's a very good question. I would say that the pepper in this case would take the longest. So if you're using pepper, you can use broccoli. You can use I know people that use basil, spinach, all kinds of different things. If I would normally take to cook these things, if you're going to steam them or something like that, use that as a variation. But the green pepper probably will take longer than most things. So if it's going to, this right here, these peppers are nice and soft right now, but they still have nice texture. So they've cooked for about 12 to 13 minutes. So, but if you like onions, the onion would take about the same time.
Yeah, pizza is a great way to slide extra vegetables into your diet. You know, I'll eat it for breakfast half the time too.
I
What's
love
the
it for
difference,
breakfast.
right? Yep,
That's
best
why
breakfast I ever had.
You like it for breakfast also?
Sometimes I eat it.
Well,
Yeah,
I think that's
good.
wonderful. Any other questions,
Okay.
Marcia?
Any other questions? Yes. Okay. So where in the supermarket would you suggest people find their dough?
It's usually where the rolled out pizza doughs are, generally somewhere near the cheese, the packaged cheese, or the deli counter. And they'll normally come in a 16-ounce, 1-pound bag. And the only suggestion that I have with it, I've used a number of them. Personally, at home, I make my own dough because I like to make a couple of different batches, and these things, the doughs freeze well. So I stick them in the freezer, and that works for me.
But I think I've seen it frozen at times.
They
I
are
think,
frozen.
too.
There's some that are already rolled out in a nice, perfect circle. I see nothing wrong with putting a little bit of exercise and making it myself.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yep.
the shape of a circle.
Yeah, that looks pretty damn good. Okay.
Yep. And even I would suggest people try a whole grain version of pizza crust too as a strategy to increase the B vitamins and fiber content a little
The
bit.
chef agrees with me about whole grain because he thinks of the nutritional value, and he says, yeah, that's absolutely right. And there's
Excellent.
something else. Pasta comes in whole grains right now.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
amazing.
much
I
more
didn't know that.
nutritional, and the color's a little different, and the taste is a little different, but from a nutritional point of view, it's much better than
little bit better,
the
yeah.
semolina type thing.
Okay. Excellent. Other questions? Yes. Okay.
I can't hear what they're saying.
Okay, multifaceted question.
Go ahead.
To save time, could you use frozen peppers or onions? And at times when low-fat cheeses are used, sometimes the water content, the moisture content is kind of high. So
Okay.
is there a certain kind of cheese, without saying the brand, I guess?
Well, what I would recommend is the typical cheese that's used on pizza is mozzarella. And I personally like, because of what I said about the Parmesan Reggiano, those cheeses will work very well. You're right about some cheeses giving out a lot of moisture, and that becomes a real problem because you got soggy dough. To answer the other part of that question was, what about frozen vegetables? I would say not to use them. And the only reason I say that, it's not that from a nutritional point of view, but the texture of a frozen vegetable, depending upon what it is much softer. And what happens is after the 12 to 13 minutes of cooking, it becomes mushy. And I kind of like the al dente-ness of the peppers, and even the tomatoes here were not overcooked.
Yeah.
And this type of pizza gives you a nice tomatoiness without using salt, without using sauce that has salt and sugar in it.
And this pizza, the size that we're looking at, the serving size that I did the nutrient analysis for is 2 slices, which is a pretty good serving size. And that was only about 1 gram of saturated fat,
Right.
which is the type of fat we should try to limit. And given that, if you make the pizza according to this recipe, you really don't have to choose a low-fat cheese. You could use the Parmesan Reggiano and get that nice flavor. It's a harder cheese, so it tends to have less fat by nature.
Exactly. And the other thing is that there is only in this whole pizza a 1/2 cup of shredded cheese, which isn't a lot, and it's distributed nice and easy because you saw Enzo and I, we were sprinkling it because we wanted it to distribute nicely. Mozzarella, you got to take your knife and you got to slice it up, and then you got to lay it all out on there, and you generally would get more cheese with the mozzarella than you will with the Parmesan Reg.
Yep. Excellent. It looks delicious. Other questions? Yes. Oh. Okay, yep. So there is a general consensus that the hat might make the cooking experience much more enjoyable.
For those of you that would like a hat, send me an email. I'll tell you where to buy it. And,
All right.
And it looks good on him. Probably looks better on him than it
It
does
does.
on me.
It suits him. All right, we had another question over here. Yes.
I'm hungry.
What?
I'm hungry.
The olive oil, does that go on the crust or on the vegetables?
The olive oil goes on the very end of the toppings, and you're just using a tiny bit. It's just 1 tablespoon.
Good, yeah. And that's olive oil is one of our monounsaturated fats, so that's also considered to be a heart-healthy type of fat. So, as always, Jerry and I strive to provide you with recipes and foods that meet all aspects of health and also to make your taste buds happy.
Yeah.
Okay, you had a question? And so mozzarella, like a fresh mozzarella? Yep. Yeah, so off the top of my head, probably an ounce of fresh mozzarella might be about 7. Oh, so the question was the difference in calories between a hard Parmesan and a softer mozzarella. If you use like a fresh mozzarella, it's probably 70 to 100 calories per ounce. If you get the shredded part skim, maybe 30 or 40. I'm talking off the top of my head, but I think I'm probably close. So not a big difference. But you'll get less of that saturated fat from part skim shredded mozzarella compared to the fresh mozzarella.
Okay.
That work? Okay. And how are we doing on time? So we have 3 minutes, and one thing that I do want to share, and I'll send this out for questions again, is for anyone that wants to start cooking with kids, this is an awesome book. It has been out for 20, maybe 30 years, I think. It's called Pretend Soup. And an educator created this. I believe she was a preschool teacher. So it's super simple, fun recipes that you can do with kids. Nothing too gourmet. The kids love it. Parents enjoy it. So that is something that I wanted to share. It is written by Molly Katzen and Ann Henderson, and it is a cookbook for preschoolers and up, and it comes from Tricycle Press out of Berkeley. So it's a great book. So any last questions before we eat pizza? No? So this has been great. I liked having a guest. I hope we have another guest again. Maybe Enzo will come back. We can have him do a quarterly visit. And all of our recipes can be found on healthyplymouth.org. And this program is provided in collaboration between the Center for Active Living, Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, Healthy Plymouth, and we always appreciate Jerry's guidance and chefery and helping us out. So I'm going to send it back to you and Enzo, Jerry.
And I would like to say thank you for coming.
Thank
And we'd like to
you.
wave goodbye to all you people out there. Come back and see us again. Bye now.